We still need our weekly itch of all things NFL insider Matt Lombardo, baby. We haven't gotten it yet, but Mondays or Tuesday, whatever the hell the day it is a better time than any. Boy Green Daily starts now.
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Let's go!
Put your seatbelts on. Get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
What's going on, everybody? Paul Leston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcast. And people, look, it's hanging up. Shout out to the fiance. You got to zoom in on that one. Do one of these on your screen, all right? And you can see it. Brett Michaels, Paul Leston, and Paul Leston again. Hop on pop. That picture will be there forever. Shout out to an amazing Father's Day weekend, which was terrific. I thank you guys for all the commentary of the last couple of days. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Let's get to our special guest who had a hell of a Father's Day himself. It is our NFL insider extraordinaire, Matt Lombardo. We have a direct link in the YouTube description down below to his Substack. Feel free to get the scuba gear on and dive into the deep end of the pool. Let's bring him in, Matt Lombardo. What's up, Matt?
Well, good morning. Happy belated Father's Day. And you and I touched on this off the air last night when we were talking about what we're going to bring up on the show. Kudos to you and taking your father to the concert. I have a little bit of a connection to that region where you guys saw the show, to that venue even.
Yeah, well, do tell, Matt Lombardo.
Yeah, probably about 8 or 10 years ago, my father and I went to see Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band at Hershey Park Stadium,
Right.
decided to head over to dinner at the Hollywood Park Casino where you guys saw Brett Michaels. And, I've been known to dabble in the ponies, so we took a stroll over to the horse track, the off-betting horse track, if you will, and I decided, hey, there's a race at Santa Anita. Let me throw down a $3 exacta just for the heck of it, just to see what happens.
Why not?
$375. $375, Richard. Dinner was paid for, and we had a great time at the show. In the pit, great time. And I'm glad that you and your father got to experience the concert and have a really special Father's Day weekend as well.
Well, thank goodness the Lombardo luck was still hanging in the universe as we won the random meet and greet with Brett Michaels after the show, which was insane. So, yes, the Lombardo luck was very much in the air and appreciate it. Thank you for leaving that there. You didn't have to do that, but you chose to do that. What a guy.
You know, you have me on the show every week. It's the least I can do to sprinkle some of that good luck over the Esdens. And I'm glad you guys had a great time, seriously. And happy Father's Day to you and all the dads out there. And sorry we couldn't make it on Sunday. A little bit of, family things to attend to, but we're back. And before we know it, regular season football is going to be back here as well, Paul.
That's true. And Matt, quite frankly, what it really just shows is that you're willing to call some audibles at the line of scrimmage. You're willing to change your play if it's not going to work. You're like, oh boy, Sunday's not going to work, but give a little Bluebird Red Cobra 47. 42's the mic over there. Bing, boom, bam. We're here on a Tuesday. So we have the magic of Matt Lombardo here, which could lead to unbelievable things moving forward. And I fully expect that moving forward. Speaking of unbelievable things, again, between the hash marks, Matt Lombardo, latest NFL news, analysis, insight from across the league. Some exclusive, juicy stuff is going on in there. Find out yourself. Go to the Substack link down below to support all things NFL insider Matt Lombardo. And if we dive into it, part of your a couple of downs, fourth down, one of my favorites, had some New York Jets love going on there and a variety of commentary from your sourcing around the league here, Matt Lombardo. And I was fascinated to hear it, including some observations on what we believe, what we're speculating can potentially happen here with the New York Jets during the 2025 season. So let's start diving in. There's a lot of stuff to sort of unpack here with all your conversation on the New York Jets. And Matt, we've talked about this before. Your past with the Philadelphia Eagles, and it seems like it's not just a connection you have with the Eagles, that perhaps this Jets team could have some connections to the Philadelphia Eagles, Matt.
For sure. And, for the column on Monday, I decided that this was the perfect time of year to survey my contacts, reach out to the sources, the executives around the league to find out who are the teams that are going to surprise people. Who are the teams that missed the playoffs a year ago, might have been cellar dwellers, but because of what they've done in the offseason could surprise to the upside. And Paul, I had two different people mention the New York Jets. So decided right then and there, okay, I have a couple of contacts within that building. These people in passing mentioned the Jets, that they could be a team that could be on the rise this year. So I reached out. I said, okay, here's what people are telling me. What are you feeling in that building? What are you guys believing is going to be different this time around? And we touched on this one of the first times on the show, that last year the defense was built to protect leads that they didn't really have the chance to do. They wilted down the stretch. A lot of that was because of the poor play from Aaron Rodgers, the turnovers, falling behind, having to throw their way out of things. But, there's a belief within the Jets organization that the offense is going to be improved this year. And I was told, quote, I guess we're going to wind up looking similar to what the Eagles do on offense. The offensive line and the running game set the table, sprinkled in with some manageable third downs, play action shots, and design quarterback runs. Keep the ball and take the pressure off the defense, finally, unquote. And it's that finally that's with me there. And, you think about what they did in the offseason, bringing in Justin Fields. You have Garrett Wilson. You bring in a rookie tight end who you took early on in Mason Taylor. I have two bookends at offensive tackle. Paul, I don't know about you. I'm not sure there's a path to climbing to the postseason this year because I think the AFC is loaded. But I can start to see the formula. I can start to see that if you believe in Justin Fields and what Justin Fields does well with his mobility, backed by two really good running backs behind an improved offensive line, I could see a world where we look up in January and the Jets are hovering around 500 or better, feeling better about themselves, and they think, okay, we have this 26-year-old quarterback. We have the system that works for him. Let's go all in and see what happens.
Well, the Jets have only been over 500 by the season's end once over the last 14 years, so that'd be refreshing. Why not mix things up a little bit if we could do that? That was a decade ago in 2015, but you just mentioned it there, that if anything like that is going to remotely happen, it's going to come down to a variety of things. One of those things is the running backs in the backfield. Breece Hall's entering the last year of his deal. We can sort of get more exploring that in a moment, but just him and Braelon Allen. The thing that I also took away from the column was the tone-setting nature that some people expect to be delivered with Breece Hall and Braelon Allen. Braelon Allen, not a lot of people may not know as well. He was a fourth-round pick last year out of Wisconsin, the youngest player in NFL history, making all these records early in the season last year as this 20-year-old coming in. But let me ask you about him. What more can you tell us about? There you go. J-Boy's saying it here in the comments section. Keep putting respect on Agent Zero, as his nickname is, but let's do that as well. Braelon Allen, Breece Hall, tone setting, that seems to perhaps speak into that Aaron Glenn identity he seems to be looking for.
For sure. And Paul, I think it's borrowing a page or even a chapter from the Detroit Lions playbook. I mean, you look at what makes them so successful. Yes, Ben Johnson helped turn Jared Goff into one of the more efficient and prolific quarterbacks in the league. But that offense was built on two dynamic running backs with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. I can see the blueprint for the Jets replicating that kind of plan. I could see Breece Hall being the two down bell cow, the explosive back, the big play threat. And then you bring in this change of pace guy with Braelon Allen. And I think that he's one of the more underrated backs in the league. I think he could be a guy that pushes for 650, 700 yards, 4 or 5 touchdowns, carves out a legitimate niche in this offense. And, there's a lot of uncertainty over Breece Hall's future in New York and what it's going to look like 2 and 3 years down the line. Braelon Allen can figure into supplanting him and eventually being the number one back in his own right. I thought there were some moments and some glimpses a year ago from Braelon Allen. If he can replicate that and expand on it behind an offensive line that now has not one, but two bookend offensive tackles, both chosen in the first round of the NFL draft, this could be as the executive within the building told me, a run first, ground and pound offense that sets up the passing game, doesn't put a lot of pressure on Justin Fields, leans into his mobility, and it just seems like there could be a different tone to what the Jets do, leaning into their personnel and what they do best versus trying to build around what the quarterback wants to do, which is what they've been forced to try to do the last 2 years.
Yeah, one of the surprising things, obviously, there's a lot of content going on right now, not from teams doing things, but from content creators creating things out in the universe. And Pro Football Focus released the quote unquote all breakout team. And for every position, they're like, hey, watch out for this quarterback or these receivers or this or that. They picked one running back in that group. It wasn't Breece Hall. It was Braelon Allen, who they said could break out on the scene. And they even hinted at a little bit of what you said. Obviously, he could potentially supplant him if Breece Hall plays this year and then just simply leaves. But there was a suggestion in the PFF column that, hey, man, don't rule out Braelon Allen just supplanting Breece Hall and being the guy this season with what he brings to the table and how potentially that could work with this Tanner Angstrom offense. So there is a lot of hubbub, apparently, this offseason for what Braelon Allen could be in 2025.
Right. And again, I'm not trying to lean too much on the history of Aaron Glenn in Detroit, but we saw that happen with the Lions a little bit, right? You have Dave Montgomery, who's supposed to be the veteran. You draft Jahmyr Gibbs in round one, explosive player, kind of a gadget guy, a little bit more than that as a rookie. You look up a year ago, and I know Montgomery was banged up, so the door was open for Gibbs to expand his role. But even before that, Gibbs became the guy. And sometimes you just have to ride the hot hand, especially the younger hand at that position. And you look, Allen last year averaged 3.6 yards per carry, but he did have some explosive runs, and he was still a guy that could force some missed tackles in the open field. I happen to like him a lot. I think that Breece Hall has the chance to really do some special things behind that offensive line. But I think you're walking into a season where you have a two-headed monster in the backfield with Breece Hall and Braelon Allen, and it wouldn't surprise me in the least if we look up by the second half of the year and it's Braelon Allen who's starting to not just set the pace, but chip into and chip away at Breece Hall's previous workload as he becomes the guy moving forward.
NFL insider Matt Lombardo joining us again. His direct link to his Substack is down below. You heard Matt talk about riding the hot hand. Brett Michaels would say "Riding the Wind" as one of his great songs there on the album. Yes, I worked that in there. You're welcome. Speaking of all the running here, Matt, let me get into this because I had to Google this term. I'm like, okay, this is a push palooza. Perhaps that happening for the NYJ. That's an interesting terminology. Can you dive in more? And how much more could we see of Justin Fields and tush push palooza? Because the Jets were an advocate for keeping the tush push in the National Football League this season.
Yeah, Paul, this just goes back to those comments from the executive who also told me, quote, it all comes down to winning on first and second downs, staying in front of the sticks, because third and long is difficult, whereas if you have third and short, it gives you the opportunity to go for it on fourth down, unquote. And this is just me. The hamster wheels are turning. But if your goal is third and short, fourth and manageable, and you've supported the tush push and you voted against banning the play and you have this quarterback who thrives in the running game and you've invested in your offensive line over the course of the last two off seasons, the stars start to align a little bit to where if you're the Jets and you're facing third and three and it becomes fourth and one, why not put that play into your playbook? Why not add that element into what you do? It's no longer a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. It is a 26-year-old Justin Fields who's built for the running game, who might be a little bit more apt to withstand the physical punishment of the tush push play now and then. But if you're talking about emulating what the Eagles do, and you've borrowed a chapter from Howie Roseman's book of roster building, which is dominating both lines of scrimmage, especially the offensive line, and you have a mobile quarterback, and you want to get into short yardage situations on third and fourth down, I could envision the tush push or some variant of it being an element of what they do and how to keep the chains moving and keep drives moving and going strong for the Jets offense.
Matt, I love our conversations. We're able to, of course, talk Jets. This is a Jets show. Also, go overall NFL. Another part I'd like to explore, and we could just sort of dip our toes in and see how the water feels moving forward. But you, as an NFL insider, that is one of the coolest gigs of all time. It's amazing for you to be able to build sourcing with all these different teams, and you can share that information. Obviously, here on the show, you talked about it earlier. Some of your sources, for instance, in the Jets building. Can you break down for the fans, how do you build sources in the NFL? How does that process work? Are you at a networking event and you're sort of sharing some whiskey? You're like, hey, buddy, and there's something there. Are you both at your your son or daughter's soccer game, and then all of a sudden you're rubbing elbows? Hey, what's going on? Like, what is the art of developing sourcing, which then ultimately helps you with all kinds of NFL insider scoopage?
Yeah, magician never reveals his tricks, right? That's how
Of
I'm just
course,
kidding.
yeah.
I'm just kidding. So a lot of it, Paul, comes from, when I started my career, I was a beat writer. So I was in the Eagles building every day for 3+ seasons. I then moved over. I was promoted at NJ.com to cover the Giants. I was in that building every day for 3, 4 seasons. So you get to know people at practices, you small talk, you eventually maybe ask for the email address or the phone number, and you keep in touch that way. But so much of it comes during events like the NFL Combine and the Senior Bowl. And, you're all out. If you're in Indianapolis, there's about 20 different sports bars within a half-mile radius of each other. So you're out and about every night. Maybe I might buy a scotch for a general manager if I see him out there. And maybe we chat a little bit, eventually grab the phone number. Agents, if I have a question about a player who I'm covering on my beat back in the day, you might forge a relationship about, building a feature story around their client, but they represent clients from people all over the league at different position groups. So you kind of bank that information away for when you're talking about a Trey Hendrickson, who represents defensive ends, who can I reach out to? It's just a lot of text messaging back and forth, a lot of phone tag, a lot of, pounding the pavement at events. Heck, flying to Mobile, Alabama. Not too many people go to Mobile, Alabama in January or February, right, for the Senior Bowl. So you're in the airport, you see a dude walking around with a Cleveland Browns hoodie during your connection in Atlanta. Chances are he works for the Cleveland Browns, right? So
Yeah.
maybe you're fortunate enough to land on the plane. You're on the same plane. Maybe you're sharing an aisle on the plane. So you strike up small talk at the end of the flight. Hey, man, can I shoot you an email sometime? What's the best way to reach you? So you just kind of build your network that way and stay in touch the best you can. And, writing the column each week, it gives me an excuse and a reason to reach out to some of these people to stay top of mind. And once in a while, they toss you a scoop. And other times, they're just great sources of analysis and insight and extending the story to the next level.
What an interesting mating dance that goes on between the insider and then the dance over here, a scotch here, working, trying to get a number, trying to get an email, trying to, smoke signal, pigeon carrier. What the hell's going on? Very
Run into
fascinating.
Brian Dable at a cigar bar in Indianapolis, it just
Yeah,
is what it is. And,
yeah,
and these coaches that you meet while you're covering a specific beat, they go on to coach other teams. And all of a sudden you start to kind of broaden out that way. But yes, it is an extravagant mating dance and ritual for sure.
Yes, that is fascinating. Again, and we'll continue to try to dive into that over the coming time. This is something I want to get into, so I'm glad that we got a super chat shout out about this. Every time we get one of these, we hear from my daughter, Zariah Luna.
Wow.
Philium, FL Phil 98, a member for 11 months on the channel. Thank you very much. He asks, what is Matt's take on the defense? What is your take on the New York Jets defense here, Matt Lombardo?
Yeah, I don't think that group could have got any more fortunate than to land Aaron Glenn as the head coach. I mean, here's a guy defensive minded, comes from a hyper competitive culture, which really tends to show itself on the defensive side of the ball. I'm a big fan of the front seven. I think Jermaine Johnson, if he can get fully healthy, this could be a big year for him. Will McDonald, I think that he was a guy on the come a year ago, and who can't be enthusiastic about Sauce Gardner and what he does on the back end. I think it's still a little bit of a work in progress, but I keep going back to the quote that resonated with me last year, that they were built to protect leads. They didn't have many of those to do a year ago. They weren't in a position to play defense the way that they expected and were built to play defense. I really think if they can get to more of a complementary style of football where the offense is pulling more of its weight, and you can let Aaron Glenn tell his guys, pin your ears back and just get after the quarterback. Take a few more chances, be a little bit more aggressive. I think that that's where you start to establish that identity. I think there's a lot of talent there. Quinnen Williams, one of the top players at his position. I just think that they were put in positions to fail over the past 2 years that should be different this time around and moving forward with Aaron Glenn and this offensive style.
Thank you for the question, Philium. If you guys have super chat questions or things of that nature, feel free to submit them in. Again, each week, Matt Lombardo will join us for the first 30 minutes of the show, and we'll be getting into a variety of topics. And if you'd like to hear more from Matt Lombardo, why the hell wouldn't you? Between the hash marks, baby, they're on your bleeping screen. Also, a direct link in the YouTube description down below. Feel free to check that out as well. And one more thing, let me make sure I put this up on the screen. The QR code, baby. Boom, scan that puppy. Get involved. And you could do that just as easy as having that on your screen. We have a couple hundred people in the room. Like the video, hit subscribe. If you are watching on the YouTube, make sure you do so. One of my favorite bits, Matt Lombardo, is I'm a big fan of the Rich Eisen show. And
Yes,
Rich
same.
Eisen, one of it, and for good reason, of course. Why wouldn't we all be on that train? And he has one of these shticks where he does top fives on a variety of things. And here's one. So Trey Hendrickson, right? There's potential of trade, or maybe he's going to stay. We'll see what happens. But when there's a conversation about trades, Rich Eisen goes, all right, let me give you my top 5 teams that should trade for Trey Hendrickson. I'm like, okay, fascinating. Let's see what it is. And he goes, number 5, your team. Number 4, your team. Number 3, your team. Number 2, your team. And number 1, guess what? Your team. Saying that, Trey Hendrickson, we'll use him as the example, who should be interested? All 32 teams, including the Bengals, should be interested in trying to keep this guy. So I turn that over to you, Matt Lombardo, because Trey Hendrickson, a little bit of your mailbag action, trying to figure out who would be the right fit. Maybe everyone could be the right fit.
For sure. I had an executive tell me that if Trey Hendrickson becomes available, now obviously ESPN has reporting this weekend that the Bengals and Hendrickson have resumed talks towards a long-term extension. And obviously that's probably the preferred path for that team. You draft Shamar Stewart in the first round. You finally, after minicamp, get his contract locked down. You get the language right on that deal. So Cincinnati's hope is to keep Trey Hendrickson. You would think to pair those two pass rushers together in that division, in the AFC, that's going to be a gauntlet. But if this breaks down again, and if it comes to pass, as an agent told me about a month ago, that if he were representing Trey Hendrickson, he would have him sit out until week 11, or as long as it takes until the Bengals decide to come to the table and meet their demands. If it gets that ugly and teams start knocking and teams start calling, this executive believes 31 teams should be on the phone. And I had a scout tell me, Paul, there's probably 3 really good fits. A good fit would be the Los Angeles Chargers with Jim Harbaugh. A good fit would be the Los Angeles Rams with a budding defense of homegrown talent. They loaded up on offense. They bring in Devontae Adams. Matthew Stafford is still there. They were a play away from the NFC Championship game last year with a big drive down the field against Philadelphia. And maybe the best fit of all, the Arizona Cardinals. And you look at the Cardinals, you and I have touched on this. I think that Arizona is a team on the rise. If you drop Trey Hendrickson into that defense after going out and bringing in Josh Sweat as one pass rusher, bringing in Walter Nolan in the first round of the NFL draft as an interior pass rusher, adding Will Johnson with tremendous value at cornerback in the second round after he slid, you start talking about Trey Hendrickson on that defense. The power structure starts to shift a little bit in the NFC West with a defense that has that much talent and a game changer like Trey Hendrickson, hypothetically, in that front 7. They can start to dictate to teams like the San Francisco 49ers, who I think are starting to have some real durability concerns with Christian McCaffrey, with a team like the Seattle Seahawks that are in a little bit of a build, reloading, retooling phase with Sam Darnold, but trading away DK Metcalf. And of course, the Rams are still going to be a team that's probably the team to beat right now in that division. But if you want to talk about fits, it's a team that plays a 4-3 defense. It's a team that has a need pass rusher. It's a team that believes they're a player away from going over the top with a difference maker like Trey Hendrickson. And I think the scout is absolutely right. I mean, I could see the Rams, I could see the Chargers, I could see the Cardinals, I could see Detroit kicking the tires, but they have real cap issues going into next year. They have the cap space this year. They have the worst cap situation in the league in 2026. So that could be a little bit of a hurdle to getting that long-term extension done. Maybe that's why they didn't go gangbusters in free agency at the top of the pass rush market, but Detroit would be a fit. Heck, the Jets should probably get involved and put Trey Hendrickson into the mix there in that front seven that's kind of on the come as well. But Trey Hendrickson's a game-changing talent, and I think he would have a pretty robust market from people that I spoke to.
All right, questions coming in. Everyone is fascinated with your tush push palooza. So we have a super chat here from Ace of Spade. Ace of Spade, we appreciate it every time we get a super chat.
Wow.
He asked you, Matt, does Justin Fields have the leg strength for the tush push? Because obviously that's a big calling card for one Jalen Hurts and his phenomenal strength that he has in his lower body. Does Justin Fields have the prerequisite tools to be able to pull off the tush push successfully?
Yeah, I don't know if he, in his spare time, squats 600 pounds like Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts do. I'm not sure if that's part of the training regiment, but he's 271 pounds. So you think that he's going to be in that mix to be in the mix to have that sort of 227 pounds. Sorry, my brain
Yeah,
went
I was like,
backwards there.
whoa, okay.
Yeah,
That's
he's
breaking news. He's put on a few
no.
pounds over Father's Day weekend. Wow.
Yeah, no, Justin Fields at 227 pounds. I don't know that he squats 600 pounds like Jalen Hurts, but I think he has the requisite size and frame to be able to orchestrate the play, especially if when you start to think about this. I don't know necessarily how much the push element makes that much of a difference. I think it comes down to the leverage of the center and the offensive line. I think it's an expanded quarterback sneak more than anything else. And if you can practice the technique, if you can get the center and the guards working in unison and on how they technically, create the leverage against the defensive lineman in that situation, the push kind of puts you over the top. I could see a world where they can execute that pretty well. But it all comes down to I'm not in the weight room with Justin Fields. I don't know how much propaganda video we get out of the Jets of them working out. But I think that at 227, I think that he has the frame to at least make this an experiment worth trying if your mentality is continuing to get into third and fourth and short situations.
Thank you for the question, Ace of Spade. Matt, let's end here. Okay, let's end here. Let's talk some Jets Giants here. But first, we'll start off with Giants, who had a very interesting quote from an exec in your column.
Yeah, I was kind of floored by this one as well. The Jets being mentioned twice were kind of surprising, but I had an executive tell me, quote, I'd watch out for the Giants because of their additions at quarterback, upgrades along the offensive line, and besides, they can't really be worse than they were last year, unquote. Now, I agree with the ending, right? I agree that it doesn't get much worse for the New York Giants than it did a year ago. But this quarterback situation, right? It's a tightrope that Brian Dable's going to have to walk because on one hand you have a dual mandate, right? You have a mandate from ownership to win as many games as necessary to show that you've made progress to save your own job and Joe Shane's job going into next year. But on the other hand, you trade up to draft Jackson Dart at number 25 overall. When you can talk about redshirt years and holding a clipboard and learning behind the scenes, I don't know how much that jibes in the modern day NFL when we watch Jaden Daniels lead his team to the NFC Championship game a year ago, when we watch Bo Nix lead his team to the playoffs a year ago, when Drake May gets meaningful snaps over the second half of a season a year ago, takes a lot of lumps behind a horrible offensive line, but you not only evaluate what he does well and evaluate what you need to improve around him to take the next step, but he gets those first snaps, first plays, first games out of his system. So you're hitting the ground running in 2025. If you're the Giants, I believe there's value in playing Jackson Dart at some point. And that's where I think that signing Russell Wilson, while it satisfies potentially mandate number one of winning games, it could come at the expense of developing your quarterback. And I thought that it was a little bit of quarterback overload bringing in both Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. So, Paul, I'll put it to you, two situations, two different off seasons, two different philosophies, two different visions. Which New York team do you see with more upside? Because I have my feeling here, but I love to hear what you think as far as the Giants Jets debate going into 2025.
Yeah, we'll start with the Giants here for a second. And I will say, despite their superstar first round pick, Abdul Carter, being unable to convince any legend to give him a jersey number, and he had to go with the eighth option, just like the New York Knicks with their next head coach. That's neither here nor there, I suppose. I would say that the Giants defense looks awesome. You have Sexy Dexy, you have Abdul Carter, you got Brian Burns, my boy Kayvon Thibodeau. I loved KT coming out of the draft. Like, there is such unbelievable talent. And as long as they keep everybody, I think they can run some insane NASCAR packages and get after people. Where
Agreed.
my concerns lie is on the offensive side of the ball. I think Bill Parcells is the one who said it. If you have more than one quarterback, you don't have a quarterback. As far as I know, the technology of combining human beings together into a singular entity has not existed yet. So famous Jameis Eaton W's, Russell, Dangerous Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, and then you have Jackson Dart. They just have a lot of weirdness happening there at the quarterback position. And the offensive line scares the bejesus out of me. And if you don't have an offensive line, quite frankly, it doesn't matter where else anything else goes. And there's some injury concerns at certain positions on that offensive line for the New York Giants. So there's nothing more inspirational from that executive that you spoke with that had all these wonderful things to say, and at the end says, come on, they can't be any worse than last year, right? Well, Giants can often say, hold my beer and we'll find out all together. So for me, in terms of relevancy, who can push it, to me, the thing that makes me feel even more compelled, that I believe ultimately that will be the Jets, because I don't think, again, it sort of goes to what you said initially about Brian Dable's very dueling philosophies on a coach should not have dueling philosophies. He should have one philosophy. It's this. But unfortunately, his tush is on the line. So he has to do something to win games. But also he wants to show the allure, to your point, that, hey, look, we haven't used the Jackson Dart lottery ticket fully yet, so just show a peek of it at some point at the end of the season so the front office is intrigued, say, oh, well, we got to keep them so they can see this thing through. I don't think Jackson Dart is going to get anywhere in there, barring some catastrophic injury earlier in the season, but I think they will show a peek real quick of look at what this looks like, and then hopefully that can buy them time heading into 2026 of all coming back. So they're going to try to win games with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, and I think that will lead, unfortunately, to some poor results. So I am leaning NYJ based on offensive line play.
Yeah, I'm with you, and that's exactly why. You have the two bookend tackles. You continue to invest along the offensive line, and there's a clear philosophy and vision with the Jets, right? And Justin Fields, this might be an evaluation and an audition year, but he's not looking over his shoulder. He's not. There's no Jackson Dart in that room that you invested a top 25 pick in that you're trying to fend off. This is Justin Fields playing golf, right? This is Justin Fields playing against himself, playing against the course to audition for that long-term contract next year, and that commitment from the Jets moving forward. You have the running game that you've built up with the two backs that we talked about. You've talked about the defense and how they might be improved and why, and some of the additions they've made there, the philosophical changes with Aaron Glenn coming in. But I look at the Giants, and I had multiple people tell me throughout the offseason that the Giants were going to, quote unquote, build a veteran team capable of winning enough games to save Brian Dable's job. And you saw that with what they did over the offseason, right? I mean, I love what they did with Abdul Carter. I love the NASCAR package. I think that pass rush has the chance to be top 5, top 10 in the league just because of the personnel. But bring in Paulson Adebo, who's really good at breaking up passes, but a major injury concern. You bring in Javon Holland, who should give you some leadership at the safety position, a group that you're trying to fix after letting Xavier McKinney, a homegrown talent, walk out of the building. But you're dropping veterans into these key spots, whereas the Jets, this is kind of a couple of draft classes now beginning to rise to the occasion, rise into more marquee, important roles. And that's where I think that internal player development, a quarterback situation that at least for 2025 feels pretty stable. It feels like the path for the Jets, who aren't butting their heads up against the Philadelphia Eagles, who have the deepest roster in football, against the Washington Commanders, who are nipping at Philadelphia's heels with a franchise quarterback, arguably like top 5 quarterback in the league. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be better. Yeah, the Jets have to deal with the Buffalo Bills, and that's a three-headed monster and a behemoth and a dragon you're going to eventually have to slay if you're going to compete. I'm not buying on the Dolphins. I think the Patriots are going to be better. I think they're going to be competitive, but they're not the Commanders, the Eagles, or the Cowboys. So it just lines up not facing the most difficult schedule in football for the Jets to have that clearer path to relevancy and competing than the Giants do going into this season.
We have 300 people in the room. Like the video, hit subscribe if you guys are watching on YouTube. And with that many people, I will once again suggest that you go down into the YouTube description down below for the direct link to Matt Lombardo's NFL Substack. He joins us once a week talking all things New York Jets, NFL, and being an NFL insider extraordinaire. But you could get even more Matt Lombardo. Buy the over at Vegas. Go over on the Matt Lombardo viewing and reading experience, and you can take advantage of that in the YouTube description down below. Matt, as always, it's a lot of fun. Again, a happy Father's Day to you. You have a couple going on there with all the love in your life, which is amazing. So, Matt, any final plugs of anything you have cooking this week? Feel free to tell all of our listeners and viewers.
Yeah, Paul, happy belated Father's Day to you, your father, you beautiful family as well. It seems like you guys had a great weekend, and I'm thrilled for that. And I always love coming on, talking football, talking Jets with the people. I'm Boy Green Daily, pumped to be here. You can check out the Substack at mattlombardo.nfl.substack.com, the Between the Hash Marks podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, through the Substack, if you will. And if you subscribe to Between the Hash Marks on Substack this month through the month of June, you also get 6 months free of Mike Tanier's Too Deep Zone, and 20% of the proceeds go to the Trevor Project. So to benefit a great cause during Pride Month for our LGBTQ brothers and sisters out there. So you get 2 NFL Substacks for the price of 1 over the next 6 months. Would love to have you join the huddle, and I look forward to these conversations every week, Paul. They're the highlight of my week, and hopefully the people enjoy them as well.
It seems like they do. Matt, thanks for joining us, and we'll chat later, I guess technically later this week / early next week. Looking forward to it.
See you Sunday.
There you go. Matt Lombardo doing a double dip this week. He's one of the best in the gosh darn business, baby. Again, his direct NFL Substack link. Please show your support for the people that end up being guests on our program. I see we have another super chat here before I get to the phone lines. Take Flight Eric, baby, sending in this YouTube super chat, which we appreciate. Thanks, brother.
Wow.
Thank you kindly, sir. You now have 8 raffle tickets this month for our contest. Again, continue to submit your raffle tickets, folks. They are $2.99 a piece, $2.99 or $3. And feel free to do that. You can do that by purchasing a membership to the Boy Green Coffee Club if you're not a member already. Not necessary for Take Flight Eric. He is a member to the Boy Green Coffee Club, but for those who are not, you guys can join the Boy Green Coffee Club. You can gift out Boy Green Coffee Club memberships. Feel free to do that. Money sign on YouTube. Click that final option, gift channel memberships. You can gift as many as you like. Each one you gift is another raffle ticket towards our contest, so take full advantage of that. You guys can also send in super chats and questions just like this. All right, let's go to my boy, Take Flight Eric, who also, he and his dad will be at the Jets Cowboys tailgate coming up in week 5. BG, if our line has good effectiveness, we can have a lot of success on the play action. I agree, quite frankly, and I heard people making jokes that the Giants are going to be booty cheeks this year. Who knows? We'll see what happens there. But I would say this, that the reason I feel so confident about this Jets team in 2025 is absolutely, unequivocally, the offensive line. We've got youth. We've got potential. We've got star power. We got a veteran in there, and John Simpson. You look across this unit, I have not felt this good about a Jets offensive line since 2010, and that's a God-honest truth. Olu Fashanu, I think, is going to be the left tackle for a very long time. The Jets will have to make some big boy decisions at guard. Both John Simpson and Elijah Vera Tucker are free agents after this season. Do they re-sign one? Do they re-sign both? Do they lose both? What's going to happen? Who knows? You have Joe Tippmann, who I'm very excited about. He's a unique center, being that incredibly lanky and tall. He's a big dude. Obviously, there's some pushing apparently that's happening from Josh Myers. I fully expect Joe Tippmann to win that battle. And then obviously another top 15 pick, Armand Gosh darn Membu, baby. They're at right tackle. This unit can be really good. And if they're good, that opens up things in the running game. If they're good, that opens up things in the passing game. Specifically, to your point of play action, we did not do nearly enough of that last year. And imagine if the Jets are just pounding away in the running game. Booyah, booyah, booyah. And then all of a sudden, the defense like, Jesus! All right, everybody, come on in. We got to load up the box here. Then Justin Fields on the play action, boop, and then throws a deep bombski to old G-Dub, Garrett Wilson. Unlock the deep level of the passing game. Again, something else we haven't seen a lot is taking advantage of the vertical element, getting some explosives, and that can come off the run game. They are married. They come together. That's what we want to see. So take flight, Eric. I like the cut of your jib, pal, because that's 100% the truth. Unlocking that is unlocking everything else with the New York Jets. Thank you, Take Flight Eric, for that super chat. Thank you. As Tony Alexio says, bookend tackles for a decade. Olu Fashanu, Armand Membu. That's incredibly exciting. Incredibly exciting. Yes. That group is quite nice. Lane Train, toot. How do I feel about Aaron Rodgers on Pittsburgh? F him, okay? If you are not on my team, you are my enemy. Now, you want to root for Aaron Rodgers out there in the universe, our Aaron Rodgers Jet fans, and root for him in week 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I ain't rooting for him in week 1. I want him to get smacked around. That's what I want. So how do I feel about it? Great. You're lunch meat for Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald. That's how I feel, buddy boy. That's how I feel about it. All right. Let's see. I think I caught up on everybody's comments, but just wanted to do a quick discount double check, and then we're going to open up the phone lines here on the show. Shout out to everybody here on the program. Appreciate you. Again, 300-plus people in the room. Shout out to our NFL insider, Matt Lombardo. He was having a Father's Day with his kids, so he was unavailable here on Sunday, so he was able to call a audible to jump on over here, which I appreciate. Beautiful. All right, we did catch up. We'll play the phone lines. Up next, your phone calls here on Boy Green Daily.
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Talking Jets football, man. Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. New York Jets Football Club. Offense, defense, special teams, watch Jets football with Boy Green. J-E-T-S, Jets. Let's go.
Look at all that for Lily and Big D. Morning, Hep. DJ Dirty Cooch. Hit them high notes, baby. Yeah, Hep's a legend. Crank that Hep. Taylor Sterling. Everyone getting involved on the Hep jams. The Hep emojis Terrence Hill has cranking out there. Stephen Fox, sing it, Hep. We love it. The phone lines are now open. That is youtube.com/boygreen25. If you'd like to call into the program, that is the pinned comment on the YouTube. Feel free to take full advantage of that, baby, here on the show and call into the program. Feel free to share your thoughts on a variety of matters coming up here on the show. All of that is, quite frankly, fair game. Let's get to a couple of things first, and then we'll kick off the phone lines here on the show. Boy Green meets Woody. That'll be today at 3 o'clock. We'll do another whack at the top 5 Jets players under the most pressure. We'll be doing that on Tuesday. In big news on Thursday, the brother of Quinnen Williams, the brother of Quincy Williams, Giovanni Williams, is joining us live on Thursday's edition, of Boy Green meets Woody. Very much looking forward to it. Shout out to Giovanni. He's going to talk about his Jets tryout, his NFL journey, his brothers. I'm looking very much forward to that. That live video is up for Thursday. Obviously, the interview has not happened yet, but you guys can flood that video, with any questions you may have for Giovanni. We will give first dibs to anyone that sends in super chat questions for that interview. Again, that'll be on Thursday at 3 o'clock. Thank you to Giovanni. We got Gio, as Taylor Sterling asked, 100%. Gio follows me on Instagram. He's been joining a couple of my shows as a commenter. and now he'll be joining the show. He showed interest, so I'm loving it. I can't wait to talk about his NFL journey, his Jets tryout he had, his brothers. There's going to be a lot of fun conversation to be myself and Woody on Thursday at 3:00. Big get there. And more to come, certainly. So we'll have Boy Green Meets Woody today at 3:00, and then Boy Green Meets Woody on Thursday at 3:00. The Thursday edition, we'll have Giovanni, the younger brother of Quinnen and Quincy. And for Lily and Big D's right. Again, could you imagine? Go, Elroy. Go, Elroy. Go Boy Green Daily, right? Or like, I don't even know how that song would go. It's just not as compelling. There's just no question about it. So, well, pour one out for all the Elroy action. That coulda, shoulda, woulda happened. There you go. I don't know. All right, let's go to the phone lines. We got the legendary EZD here on the program. Let's start off there.
Morning. How is everybody
Good
today?
to see you. Yeah, you're on the move.
So, yeah. So, did Giovanni make the 91, or was he just like, they just like gave him a courtesy tryout? I mean, I don't know. Is he actually on the 91 roster?
He is not. He is not on the 91.
Oh, okay.
The 91-man roster. But what I'm curious about, and this is a question I planned on asking him anyway, what did the Jets say when he didn't make the team? Because sometimes they say a variety of things. Sometimes they just say, yeah, thanks, but like this is never happening, basically. They're normally not that blunt, but sometimes they'll say, hey, man, be by your phone, right? And you get added basically to the emergency list. So if a linebacker goes down, Gio, you're going to be one of the first ones we call. So I'm sort of curious as he walks us through how the Jets tryout went. And then at the end saying, hey, so what'd they say when, when the conversation was over? Did they say, like, stay by your phone, like it's still possible? Or have you been exploring other NFL opportunities? I'll be sort of fascinated to hear where that goes.
I would venture to guess that because his brothers are on the team and he wasn't good enough to make the team, they probably told him, we appreciate you trying out. We would have loved for you to work out. It would have been great. But unfortunately, it's, this is a business and, we have other people, but we were more than happy to give you the tryout and don't give up on your dream. Keep going. Just keep working out, work out with your brothers in the off season. And, you never know. You never know. Some guys don't make it
be
right
exactly
away.
what you said. It could be exactly what you just said, that they gave him a chance. And after the chance, they're like, you know what? It's just not going to happen here. Good luck. Prove us wrong, which I've heard on Hard Knocks all the time. Like, prove us wrong. Go to some other team and kill it. But amazing, because I'm sure they would have loved to make that NFL history to have three brothers on the same team. That would have been insane.
Well, I think there's only like one other team that did that. Wasn't it the San Francisco Giants? They had the Alou brothers. Matty Alou, Felipe Alou, and Jesus Alou.
That's possible. Yeah. Because like the J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt, and Derek Watt, they were not all on the same team at the same time. But those three brothers were all in the NFL at varying times, but they never ended up all on the same team.
More likely in baseball, any good player can have a 25, 30-year career in baseball.
Sure.
I mean,
right.
Well, maybe not 30, but, But I'll tell you, if I had the skills and the talent to be in any major sport as a player,
okay,
it would have to be baseball. It's
really?
It's the least physical. Because I mean, you make stupid. Listen, though. You make stupid money in basketball. I mean, like absolutely stupid money in basketball. But that sport will absolutely tear your knees to shreds playing on that hard court every night.
That's true, but here's the thing, right? So in NBA you play 82 games. In baseball you play 162 games. In the NFL you play 17. Obviously, I'm not talking about playoffs. I'm just talking about regular season. But also the physicality for each of them has to be sort of factored in too. So okay.
Well, have you ever played softball?
Not competitively, like just low level stuff.
Well, in a league. I'm talking in a league.
No,
I've played competitive in the leagues, and there were games where I was out in like right field or something. I got maybe one hit, my way,
No.
So I mean, so you could basically, you could play half the season and not see hardly any action, and then when you come up to bat, especially in baseball, where you're only on base 1/3 of the time, if you're good,
Yeah.
you only have to worry about running and all that stuff like 1/3 of the time. Well, I mean, what's a good batting average? 333.
That'd be a Hall of Fame batting average right there. That'd be great.
Right? Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, a very good batting average. Yeah. So I mean, most of these guys hit around 270, 280. They're on the, they with a few walks, maybe hit by a pitch or something like that. They're only actually on the diamond maybe 40% of the time. And then when they're playing defense, if they're not in the infield, I think the pitcher's job is the most dangerous because he's got the most risk for arm injury and getting his face destroyed by a line drive. But other than that, I mean, most of those guys, they can have a pretty long career and not really hurt themselves too bad.
That's true.
In general.
I guess. Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So if I could excel at any major sport, I'd probably pick baseball because it's the least amount of getting your body and brain scrambled. Football is like the worst as far as being a pro athlete with the non-guaranteed contracts or partially guaranteed contracts, and the fact that professional football has a 100% injury rate, meaning if you play professional football, you are guaranteed to have a major or a semi-major injury.
That math tracks. Yeah, that math tracks.
I mean, think about it. JJ was only kind of following up on a play when his Achilles went out.
Right. He did his pass rush play, and then he was going back upfield, and then boop, fell right down. Yep.
Yeah, he was just trotting. I think he was actually trotting, still trailing the play. I think the play went to the left, and he started trailing it from the right hand side, and all of a sudden he just went up lame. So yeah. But that guy you had on,
Matt Lombardo,
I agree with him. Yeah, I think the Jets are going to be surprisingly better than most people think they are. And like we've discussed many times, the coaching staff last year was overwhelmed. I think if they'd have kept Saleh, they would have had maybe 9 wins. But once Saleh left and Ulbrich had to do everything, I think Ulbrich was just like, holy shit. I really think he had his holy shit moment. I think that hurt Ulbrich's career too, because now people don't look at him as a potential, NFL head coach. But that really wasn't his fault. I mean, he didn't have the personnel decisions being a defensive coordinator, because there were a lot of decisions that Robert Saleh should have made in the offseason, getting rid of some coaches who really didn't have any business continuing with the Jets because of their poor performances. As example would be Keith Carter. And I know everybody blasts Keith Carter, but I mean, the guy's been fired from many NFL teams, and he's had many NFL players hate him from many different teams. So he was just not a good fit on our team. And there were some other things.
Somewhere. Let me look where he landed. Yes, he is the assistant offensive line coach with the Vikings. So
right, assistant. You cannot put that guy in power because he's I'm sorry, but dickheads shouldn't have power, and he's kind of a dickhead. I mean, that's it's not like the players hate him. They don't hate him, but he's kind of a dickhead, and he's kind of got an attitude that professional football players that are making millions of dollars don't want to deal with someone with an attitude problem. They just don't want to deal with it. They don't have to.
That makes sense.
They've had to deal with high school coaches and doing bull in the ring and doing all those, those little punishment drills, like doing crabs down the field. You remember doing crabs?
Very painful. Yeah.
Yeah. Running on all fours for 50 yards and then making you come back and then making you run wind sprints till you vomit. That's in high school. That was back in the day when I went back in the 70s. I mean, it's just like we used to hide pitchers of water down behind the backstop because he'd have us run around the whole field, and we would all stash like a bag of oranges and some water because we weren't allowed to have breaks. We weren't allowed to have, juice or drink or anything back then. They thought it made you tougher, and they wondered why people used to die on the field.
And so you
crazy.
said this was what,
Now
back in
they're
the
all like,
70s? Where you guys?
hydrate.
You said what, you were playing back in the 70s?
Yeah, in high school.
Yeah. What were you guys wearing?
I
Leather
graduated
helmets?
No, we weren't wearing leather helmets, but I bet you wore a leather helmet on the short bus.
Hey.
Ooh, hey man, you had it coming, man.
That's true.
But seriously, no, one of the things I wish the NFL would do
right.
would be to coordinate with some airlines so that people could fly up for games. That would be a nice little thing for the NFL to do. Coordinate
Just will it
affordable
into
travel
existence.
packages. Hey, I think it would be good for the airlines. I think if they made affordable packages, okay, for fans to participate in either away games or to fly back home to see their beloved home teams. Like I'm in North Carolina, so I can't just go to a home game anytime I want. Matter of fact, the one thing I was disappointed in this year was that the Panthers were actually playing the Jets up in New York, because that's one less game that I could see down here. It's like a three and a half hour drive to Charlotte to see the Panthers stuff. And you make a weekend out of it. You go, you drive down on Saturday. You go to Carowinds, which is a theme park.
All right.
And then after that, you go to the game the next day. It's fun.
Sounds like a hoot.
Yeah. But anyway, I think the Jets are going to do okay this year. I think the defense is going to be okay this year. I really wish that they would get Clowney, though. Has he been signed up yet?
No, he remains a free agent as far as I know. I'll do a quick Goog search to make sure, but I don't think he has been picked up yet. Let's see. He remains a free agent.
Yeah, I think he'd be a great emergency backup, because as much as I like Jermaine Johnson, I do not know exactly if he's going to be ready really until week 4 or 5 at full strength.
Sure. Yeah.
And to have Jadeveon Clowney in there, because he does run stop. He's a good run stopper, which is one of the things that he could even help teach. I mean, he's a run stopper. He's at the age now where he's veteran leadership on showing how an edge player can not only rush the passer, but also participate in the run game. He is a really good and always has been a blue chip player. I just think he never was able to fit in with the right. I just don't think he ever got the right team and the right scheme for him. Which I can't understand why someone wouldn't scheme for him, being the talent that he is. But sometimes, coaches have egos and they think, I'm going to make them do me. I'm not going to do them. And that's why they're not that good coaches. You got to take the talent you have, evaluate what they're good at, and put them in positions to succeed. And that's really all the coaching is recognizing what your players have to offer and making them and putting them in position to do the best that they can do. And that's one of the things that I think that Aaron Glenn is going to do. That's why he's very vague. That's why he's not telling anybody what he's going to do. He's still trying to figure out what he is going to do. I know he's going to be successful at it because he always has been. I mean, look what he did last year. Oh, my God. He literally made chicken salad out of chicken shit last year with all the injuries he had. I mean, if that team would have won the Super Bowl if they didn't have the amount of injuries they had. I mean, just think about it. Their best defensive edge rusher was out. So what's the kid's name? You know what I'm saying, right?
I don't.
The edge rusher.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
The edge rusher for Detroit that got hurt. The young kid.
Aiden Hutchinson?
Shit. Yes. He was out most of last year.
Yes.
So, I mean, Aaron Glenn did an amazing job of who we had left. and he had like a lot of injuries. What like 10 or 11 guys that were out. So he's proven he can get it done. So let's hope for the best. Anyway, next up on the list, I'll see you.
You know what I'm talking about, right, BG? No, I have no idea. I sort of got lost there. I give a lot of credit to Easy. Leather helmet, 70s. Yeah, the Jets, I hope they're doing pretty good this year. Hey, by the way, there's an amusement park over here. Oh, is there? Okay, all right, nice. Yeah, I wish the Panthers would have been playing at home against the Jets this year. That would have made a lot of sense. But hey, Paul, look at this drive. Hey, look what I'm at over here. Yeah, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. Boy, whoever wins the lottery for the EZD drive up for the Jets Cowboys tailgate, make sure you record it. I'd love to hear about it. All right, let's go back to the phone line. Pep here on the show. What's up, Pep?
Hey, Paul. Hey, Easy. You got to go on a dating site and look for a rich American widow.
There you go.
There you go. You know,
that's where the money's at. Yes.
Yeah, man. That'll keep you straight. You have stuff to do. I mean, you got to be a little, you can't be a caveman,
That's right. Yeah,
right.
You gotta evolve.
You have to.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got to understand they have feelings too,
Yes.
So anyway, how's it going, Paul?
Hey, not bad, Hep. We're through. We're in another week, and again, we're getting closer and closer to Jet football. We're about a month-ish away from training camp returning. It's something like that, a month and some change. So, hey, baby, it's right around the corner.
All right, that's great. I'm looking for any. Have we signed anybody? Any free agents or anything?
Well, we did. I guess we never did a show on it. I'll give a shout out to, and let me make sure I have it here. Get all the names appropriately. After minicamp, we did have a flurry of action. Let me make sure I see it here. Here it is. Let's bring it up. So we had, technically 4 moves, but it was just signing 2 guys, releasing 2 guys. We added Marquise Hayes, an offensive lineman, and Kingsley Jonathan, who I know, and I'll get back to him in a second, a pass rusher. And the Jets cut bait with Zach Bailey and defensive back Trey Swilling. Kingsley Jonathan I covered here at Syracuse, so I don't know how all of a sudden we're getting this Syracuse pipeline going on. And I gave a shout out to Kingsley on social media. It's awesome to have him on the team. So he's been a special teamer and sort of a rotational guy. He hasn't really found his footing in the NFL. He was with the Bills for like 3 years. So he's a good guy. It's good for the 91-man roster. We'll see if he can make any noise in camp. But, yeah, that was really the only flurry of moves, was a little bit of that roster shuffling at the end of minicamp, and that's been it so far.
Any reason why we're not getting Clowney in here? Is he asking for like a ton of money or something? What's going on with that?
It's a good question. I don't know. Clowney after he got cut by Carolina, he was speaking with, I think it's Joe Persons is the contact down there, and he was just saying, I got plenty left in the tank. Someone's going to get, like, the Panthers are going to pay for making this mistake, and like someone else in the NFL is about to get like a great version of Jadeveon Clowney. And by the way, I believe it all. So why is he not signed yet? I don't know. Maybe some guys are waiting it out. There's nothing going on for the next month, so maybe no deadlines, no rush or anything from that perspective. Maybe that's it. But again, I would love to add Jadeveon Clowney to the mix.
How old is Clowney now?
That's a good point. My guess would be 32, but let me trying to do the math of when he was drafted. Let's see what he is. Bingo was his name-o. He is 32, born in 93. There you go.
Seems like he's been around forever, right?
Oh, my God, absolutely. And like I said, he is one of the most unique number 1 overall picks ever because he never became a superstar. He has not had to this point a double-digit sack season. All of his sacks have been between 9.5 and 3.5 basically his entire career. So he just kind of has a nice floor, but no crazy ceiling. And he's just been a really good run defender. So, I mean, that's a good player in the NFL, but that's not number 1 overall pick worthy. He had that crazy play in college where he blew that dude's helmet off. I think that was the South Carolina Michigan game or something, and then all of a sudden, boom, his stock rose crazy in that draft. I just think he's a good player. I think he just does his job, does his business, and again, with what the Jets' defensive line is looking like, Again, the Jets must know something I don't. They have plenty of money, so what are we?
Yeah, that's what
Why
I
are we
mean.
not using it? To
Is
help
it a
improve the
character? Is it a character issue? Possibly. I mean,
It could be, I guess. I have not heard any character issues with Jadeveon Clowney in any of his previous stops, but I guess it could be possible that there was some rub there. Why did Carolina pull the plug at the timing of the offseason was a little interesting. So yeah, I don't know. That's I'll have to try to explore some more on that.
Clowney's not the guy that stepped on that guy's head early in his career.
No, that's Albert Hainsworth,
Hainsworth,
who,
right.
Andre Gerard, the former Dallas Cowboys offensive lineman, he kicked his helmet off, and then I saw it live, and I'm like, he's not doing what I think he's about to do, and he did. I'm like, Jesus, you have cleats on, you freak! What are you doing? It's just, come on, man. You want to fight someone man to man? You guys take your helmets off. You want to swing at each other's face? Okay, I could sort of respect that. Trying to cleat somebody, that's fucked up. So, yes, that was Albert Hainsworth who did that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Well, I played football in the 1970s, and I was a running back. And
Okay.
the only difference I noticed that was it's really tough. You played hurt. Well, you did that too. You played hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all about knocking the snot out of the next guy, and
That's it.
That's it. So anyway, peace out.
Love it. Hep, thanks for the call, and that's the rules. Yes, there's a difference between being injured and being hurt. I always felt like anytime I got banged up and I have more concussions than I can count. That was my biggest injuries that I had in college. But I was either too stupid, prideful, wanted to be a tough guy. I have no idea. I just said, we got to do this for the team. Get up, which is cool. By the way, I'll have to share it to I'll have to share it over here. It's on the Man Shot Show, Boy Green Digital. We posted it last night. If you guys want to hear anything about my high school football journey, it's a small piece of the interview. We're more so promoting the current program, but that's at the end of the interview. My radio partner wants to know, so what was Boy Green like as a teammate? And there's a full interview up on the Man Shot Show with Boy Green Digital. That's our radio show that's making the transition to full-time digital. If you go over to that YouTube channel, it's audio only. You don't see any video. There's just like a little picture up. But it's our full radio interview with my former teammate Chris Pike, who was our quarterback my senior season. And he's told some stories about me being a teammate, and so there's some fun stuff in there if you guys want to check that out on the Man Shot Show Boy Green digital thing. And it was fun. I played running back and cornerback in football. And one time we had injuries or something, so I played middle linebacker at 5'2", 120 pounds. And I put on this jersey, and I don't know, somehow I had a sense of the plays, and I was blowing things up, which sometimes the offense hates because they're trying to go through their process. So if someone's blowing up their plays, that's normally bad for business. And I still have that ripped up linebacker jersey I wore for that practice. That's hanging up somewhere in my closet. I just kept it forever. It was just cool. They said, Paul, linebacker. I'm like, all right, sure, I'll figure it out. I had not been playing linebacker, had never played linebacker previously, and to this day I have not played linebacker. That was the one practice I had to do it for our offense and defense because of injuries, and that was a lot of fun. So some cool stories in there. I hope you guys check those out. Again, the Man Shot Show with Boy Green Digital. Since we're talking about it, let me see subscriber count. What are we up to? We're growing quick, so I appreciate everybody that's been hopping over there. There'll just be additional content for you guys to consume, which is really cool. Let's see. All right, we're up to 112 subscribers, baby, so we are trending in the right direction, which is awesome. At MC Show Digital, I'll throw it up here on the screen real quick. You guys can make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, baby. Here it is. Let me throw it up on the screen for our YouTube video viewers here on the show. And also, here's a big thing. I already booked 2 of our guests here that are coming up. Okay. We're doing mandatory minicamp reports this week. We have this won't matter to you guys, but we have our Buffalo Bill sideline reporter book, Sal Capaccio, and we have our Giants reporter who works for the team, John Schmelk. We'll have both of those up for any Giants or Bills fans, which I imagine would not be in here on a Jets show, but we'll also be having a Jets interview over there. So, guys, make sure you stay tuned. That won't be on this channel. It'll be exclusively on the Man Shot Show of Boy Green Digital. So, again, we will have Jets content over there, baby. So, yeah. So make sure you guys check that Jets interview out. I just have to finish booking that one over the coming days. So we'll have a Jets mandatory mini camp report that'll be coming out as well. So the Man Shot Show, Boy Green Digital, you can follow that account on YouTube at MC Show Digital. We're going to have live shows. We're going to do all kinds of fun content. I hope you guys can make that jump over. And again, if you missed the press release on Friday, my partner up there on the Giants jersey in the top right-hand corner, Jim Lurch, has been doing radio for 23 years, and he's retiring from radio and transitioning full-time to YouTube, and I will be doing the shows with him. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. I always tell you guys, I got to run to the radio station, which is something I am going to have to literally do here in a few seconds, but I won't have to do that anymore at the end of June. Here, by the end of next week, will be our final radio show, and then we will be full-time digital. So it'll just be a digital thing moving forward, which will be very crazy, and I'll be working from home more often, and it's going to be a unique journey. So I hope you guys can join us for that journey. Please subscribe to the channel, show your support. Again, the cool thing, so this channel, this Boy Green channel, is Jets all the time. That's what, if you subscribe, you know you're getting. It's Jets, 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 over and over again. On this other channel that's on your screen, there's going to be all kinds of stuff that's going to be going on. All kinds of stuff. NFL draft. It'll be Jets reports. There's going to be all kinds of interesting interviews that'll be happening. So I hope you guys check it out and show your support. That'd be awesome. So thank you guys so much. We have nearly 400 people in the room. Like the video, hit subscribe, show the love, baby. Appreciate you. Well, we're going to dip on the program. All right. And we'll see you again at 3 o'clock. Boy Green meets Woody. We'll be talking about the top 5 Jets under the most pressure heading into 2025. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you later. Take friggin' care.